Hi, my name is Simran Sidhu. Sports play a huge part in my life. I play them and watch them all the time. I literally schedule my life around hockey games. That's why last March, when the unthinkable happened, it hit me so hard.
So this is what kind of we're looking at here. Officially, the season is suspended.
Yeah.
The players have been told to go home.
Everything that has transpired, not just in the world of sports, but in the world in general with this coronavirus outbreak, this was the necessary step for the National Hockey League.
Yeah, it's really not a surprise in light of events that have taken place in the last, 12, 16 hours.
I know that time was hard for me, but in the moment, I was thinking about the athletes who make a living off playing these sports. I couldn't even imagine how hard it was for them to not to be able to play the game. Then, I took it a step further. What about these young athletes that are trying to make it into the big leagues, to make a name for themselves? With all the restrictions from COVID, how are they supposed to progress their careers? Now, I live in Canada. The restrictions here have always been pretty tight the entire time. But I do know that in certain parts of the States, they didn't take it as seriously. That is why I decided to interview two young, up-and-coming athletes, one of which is from Canada, while the other is from the United States. After this, we'll know how young athletes dealt with COVID in Canada versus the United States. Let's meet our two athletes. First is our Canadian, Kelsey. Kyle was born and raised in Maple Ridge, British Columbia. He's a 17-year-old goalie for the Northeast Chiefs out of Burnaby, British Columbia. Kyle was selected in the 5th round, 107th overall in the 2019 WHL Bantam Draft by the Moose Jaw Warriors of the WHL. He signed shortly after and has high hopes of making the big team next year. Next, our American, Eshan Barha. Eshan was born in Vancouver, British Columbia, and was raised in Burnaby, BC. He moved to Atlanta, Georgia in 2018. He's a 17-year-old defenseman playing for the Nashville Junior Preds out of Nashville, Tennessee. He is currently attending BCHL camp for the West Kelowna Warriors. Both of these young athletes have dreams to make it to the big leagues, so I'm very interested to hear their experience.
What sport do you play?
Hockey.
When did you start playing hockey?
I think I started playing hockey around the age of 8 or 9.
4-ish.
Where and who do you play hockey for?
Right now I'm out in Burnaby playing hockey for the Northeast Chiefs, Major Midget.
Nashville Junior Predators.
Where were you when COVID originally hit in March?
Last year I was with BWC and we were out in playoffs in Penticton. We got a couple games in, and then when we first got the announcement that we had to shut it down, we got a bus ride home, canceled all the other games.
At home, Atlanta, Georgia.
Did your season close down due to COVID?
Yeah, we were in playoffs and it just canceled.
Yes, it was originally canceled in March.
Did anything get rescheduled?
Everything just straight up got recanceled.
There wasn't any reschedulements at first. It came back later. But at first, it was just nothing. Everything shut down.
In your city, what shut down due to COVID?
In Maple Ridge, all the rinks shut down. Gym shut down, which was really hard because when you have nothing to do, it's as an athlete, you want to stay in the gym, stay fit. But, it's everything shut down. A lot of local businesses shut down, and they won't ever open up again because it just hit them so hard.
Pretty much all public areas, restaurants and whatnot, basically anywhere where you would be in close quarters with people or touching people or eating food, stuff like that.
Were rinks or gyms opened?
Gyms and the rink shut down, so wasn't able to go. And like I said earlier, it was really hard not going to the gym, staying fit for when I'd see the sight of hockey again.
No. Closed down pretty much everything immediately.
How did people in Atlanta feel about COVID?
People down here don't really do science. Everybody just seems to kind of ignore what's going on. So originally, originally everyone said it was fake and it's like a government hoax and whatnot. So people were kind of just still living normal life, and that's why you see the U.S. numbers were way up there at the top because nobody gave a shit. So it's just kind of normal life. No one believes in what's going on. So at first it was really bad, really bad.
How did you maintain your fitness level during this time?
Just keep myself busy around the house. I have a couple of weights, not too big, but like just staying in shape, going for runs. That's about it.
I got a gym for myself at home, so I was working out at home.
Do you feel you're able to maintain your fitness level?
I feel like I let myself a little go, but like it wasn't too bad. Obviously, I wouldn't be in as like good shape as I would be if I like playing hockey and everything, because hockey's mainly my conditioning, so I wasn't that conditioned. But yeah.
Did you ever personally catch COVID?
No.
Yes, twice actually, which I didn't think was possible, but I guess it is. It's not a great experience.
How many people do you know around you that caught COVID?
Well, me personally, I've heard of a couple, but the closest ones I've had, I think around 4 of my teammates had it. So one of my teammates got it mid-year this year. But we never shut down or anything because he missed a couple weeks because he was already quarantining because he knew his parents had it. But then we found out he got it later on too. And then at the end of our season, an outbreak happened where basically one guy brought it from his sister and gave it to 2 or 3 other guys. And then that's when we had to shut down our season. Like, well, not when I say season, I mean practices and everything around the rink 2 weeks early because of it.
Not many actually. A couple people on my team, a couple acquaintances, maybe, but not a lot of people. Surprisingly.
When did things start to open up again in your city?
It's a hard one. I don't know. It kind of just really slowly opened. You still see all the local businesses still sometimes like shut down or like reduced hours. But I think it's getting back to normal now, which is good to see.
Early to mid-August-ish, somewhere around that. They call them necessary businesses, so like banks, I guess hospitals, they've been open the whole time, but that was more open, so necessary businesses.
Would you say we are back to living like normal, or would you say we're still in a COVID world?
I still feel like we live in a COVID world. Obviously, when you look around, everyone's wearing a mask. Hopefully that will change July 1st, but yeah, and you notice like everyone, you don't see everyone all together anymore really. Like they kind of like split up everyone, and I don't know, I feel like the world's a lot more split up than what it was before COVID.
This past month or so has been back to somewhat normal. With people getting vaccinations and whatnot, there's not much restrictions anymore.
How do people feel about getting vaccinated in Atlanta?
At first, people were like, "Don't do it," because it's gonna like track you or something stupid like that. I don't. It's a liquid, so I don't see how it could have a chip in it. But people are like, "Yeah, there's a chip in it." Government's trying to do whatever the hell they thought, but yeah, after people started to get it and it turned out fine, people started to go get it. But at first, before it really came out, everyone had their own delusional opinion.
As we heard, you also play in Nashville, Tennessee. Did you see any differences when they first started opening things up there?
A little bit more lenient in Nashville, not so strict. Especially in public areas, the kind of 6 feet and mask rules that you saw pretty much everywhere else. No one really did that.
Were there heavy restrictions when things first started to open up?
I think it wasn't that big of a difference from like Maple Ridge to other cities. Obviously, there was a couple of restrictions like masks, stay 6 feet, a couple of things like that, or like no dining indoors, but it wasn't that much different from anywhere else.
Yeah, mask, those little hand sanitizer things everywhere, 6 feet. To get into buildings, you had to have proof of a negative COVID test. And I think that's
What kind of restrictions were in Nashville?
As soon as stuff started opening back up, it was pretty much nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I could wear a mask, but people did the thing where it's like just over their mouth, so irrelevant anyways.
Okay.
But yeah, Kentucky, those were the places that you saw people just didn't believe it was a thing anyways, so pretty much throughout the entire time it was very lenient. And then when stuff started to open up again, it just kind of did whatever.
When did team sports open up again?
Team sports, we're right in the heart of pandemic. Right when it happened, it closed down, but I was only off the ice for 2 weeks maximum. So I was finding out I would ice in like the only rink that was open in like BC or Alberta out in Abbotsford. I went on with a couple guys. Not anywhere close to the amount of times I would normally. But then that show got shut down, and then 2 weeks later, like BC opened up again. But yeah, never really shut down. But the games are a big impact. Like all this year, just practice, with no games.
Sports. I'm not actually sure, because the league that I play in is kind of its own private thing. So high school sports didn't open up until like December, but our league was open early September. The games were delayed, but practices and camps were not. So yeah, I guess it was a little bit different, but the starting dates, I guess, were similar still. If that makes sense.
Okay.
What restrictions were in place during the season?
Yeah. And then when we were playing games, like the refs had to wear masks and everything. They added certain rules into hockey that wasn't certain rules like before the pandemic. Like, say there was a scrummer or something where a bunch of guys would be close together, they'd blow it down and separate the guys. Obviously, just in game, like during like between whistles, I'd pick up the puck and hand to the ref, but they were like, drop the puck, you can't do that. And I was like, oh, that's a little different, because that's, I don't know, part of my superstitions, picking up the puck and give it to the ref, just part of me. So that was a little different. And then once that got shut down, the restrictions like went heavy, like no games, no scrimmages, no compete in practices. It was just shots in practice. No game style or anything. It was very hard.
Going to games, a lot of our flights got canceled, so we took buses a lot of the time, and that sucks. Being in the back of the bus with no AC is tough for 20 hours, so the long bus rides, masks in and around the rink, only being allowed to rink 20 minutes before. So, what else? Yeah, I think that's it. But,
Would you say those protocols helped to prevent COVID throughout your team?
I'm not 100% sure. I don't think so, because a lot of the time when nobody's looking, you don't really pay attention to the rules. You're just trying to get in the right headspace to play. But I think maybe a little bit. I'm not sure.
Did you get to play games this year?
Yeah, we played a total of 6 games. Like I said earlier, we 3 games a weekend, and then we have to wait 3 weeks just in case any COVID exposures would happen, and then we play another 3 games. But then after that, it got shut down.
Yeah, played I think 30 something.
Would you consider this season to be a normal season for you?
No, not even close. Just practicing without playing any games. I kind of refer to it like studying all year for a test and then not even having the test. It's very difficult, but you just got to keep pushing.
No, definitely not. Far from.
Did your team encounter any COVID exposures?
Yeah, so earlier in the year, we had one player that got COVID, but luckily we didn't have to quarantine or anything because he was already out because he knew his mom had COVID, so that's why he quarantined on his own behalf to keep us safe as well. So he was out for 2 weeks, but none of us were. And then at the end of the year, we had a little bit of an outbreak. So one guy had his sister got it, and then he came, brought it to the team, and then 2 or 3 other guys got it as well. And that's why we had to shut down 2 weeks early.
Yeah, like I said, myself, I got it. About 10 other people on the team got it. Coach got it. Some of the management staff got it.
Teams around you encounter a similar amount of exposures as your team?
I know a lot of teams in the South got it just because, like I said, the South kind of didn't really take it seriously at first. So I know a lot of teams in the South got it. More than Northern teams, I think there was only 1 or 2 teams of them that got it because they had all the restrictions. They were abiding by the rules and whatnot, so they were definitely more protected then.
How do you feel the season contributed to your future development?
I think it just there's goods and there's positives and there's negatives taken out of this year. I got a lot of practice in. Got to really focus on myself, what I was doing. But also there's a lot of negative part, like looking in junior, like signing a contract for school. I lost out on a year of free education because I wasn't able to go up and play junior because they didn't have any games like a normal year. So unfortunately that sucks, but
No positive contributions. I think it was a step back, definitely for me. For most people I know, I think for most athletes, I'd say it'd be fair to say it was a step back. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody who would say it was a positive reason for them, missing out on games and practice times and stuff like that. I don't think it helped many people, especially me. Definitely didn't help me.
Do you feel like you took a step back this year?
I don't think I took a step back, but I don't think I would have got as much as I could have if we had a normal season. I feel like that's hard to say. It's really hard to say where I'm at without no games, especially because I can't see personally what I'm doing. Mistakes is, you can stop every puck in practice, but it all comes down to games, and we haven't really had any games since. But I really took my development seriously because my junior team, they haven't been able to see me. I lost out a year on major midget, so that's really good. That's like the step, and then you go to junior. But I really lost out on that. Just that development year of reading plays and getting used to that speed, picking up another speed. So now I have to kind of jump up 2 levels. But yeah.
Are you scared or nervous when it comes to making the next step and competing for a spot with the Moose Jaw Warriors?
I think it's going to be really challenging to make the team next year because they haven't seen me. I've got a couple video of practices, but like I said, it's practice. Nobody really cares about it. They've even made moves to get other players, older players, more experienced, just because they don't know what I'm like. I can show up, be the best goalie ever, or be the worst. They don't know. So yeah, it's very difficult.
Are you scared or nervous when it comes to taking the next step and competing for a spot in the BCHL?
Yeah, definitely stunned / delayed, whatever you want to say. Video is obviously a big part of recruiting and whatnot, and I didn't have a lot of that. The BCHL wasn't looking at all as well because their season hadn't started, so they had other things like recruitment. So definitely started my growth a bit. Not even just with the BCHL, with a bunch of other leagues down here as well. So definitely started my growth a bit.
Do you feel a little bit more nervous than you would in a usual season for making the next big step in your career?
Nervous? No. I'm confident enough in myself to make the next step, but definitely put a couple more obstacles in my way.
Imagine this scenario. Let's picture we are 100 years in the future and there's another worldwide pandemic. Let's say there is a young athlete who clicked on this video to see what to do as an athlete through a pandemic. What advice would you give them?
That's a deep one. Hold on, let me think. What?
Yeah, this is gonna sound a little cliche, but like I always say, just never give up. Hopefully there's going to be like light at the end of the tunnel season later on. But if you don't take advantage of it now, like even compared to other people, there's going to be other people that don't take advantage of it, and you're just going to be that one step ahead. So I think you just got to really keep pushing, working hard, and always have like the vision of what's going to come next.
The advice would I give them to go through this?
Yeah.
I'd say take advantage of your opportunities, because there are a lot fewer of them, a lot farther in between, and you never know who's going to be at what events. So when you have an opportunity, you definitely got to take advantage of it, because the next one could not come at all. So if you have an opportunity, you got to take advantage of it, because it might be the last one.